Hey, this is Dancing Rabbit, and welcome to another late weekend pagan perspective. I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to answer this question to the questioner's satisfaction because I'm not really sure that I understand the question. I suspect if we sat down for a couple of hours over coffee and pie and ice cream and just chatted, we probably would come to a lot better understanding. But I suspect we may be coming from quite different backgrounds, quite different experiences, and so just the vocabulary, the language, what we mean when we use certain words may be a big stumbling block. But the question seemed to be sort of the difference between pagan and witchcraft, and what aspects of witchcraft we include in our practice. Uh, the way I use the language, witchcraft is the use of magic, is magic using. It's the craft, whereas paganism is the religion that I myself follow. It's one of the reconstructions or reconfigurations of the old European pantheistic, polytheistic, pre-Christian religions. At least it's based on that as loosely or tightly as you can, considering we don't have a whole lot of records and stuff has changed a great deal since that time. Um, a person can practice what I would call witchcraft and follow a number of different religions. Most of the witches around here in Houston actually aren't pagan at all. They're Catholic. At least if you ask them, what's your religion, that's what they tell you. Their belief system is, loosely or tightly bound to Catholicism. And I'm talking about the Mexican American brujos and brujas. And they might become, particularly offended if you use the term witch or witchcraft. It has even a worse name in the Hispanic community than it does in the Anglo community. There are people who perhaps have no particularly strong religious or ethical foundation who practice a sort of witchcraft that is, for their own end. It's, what can I get out of this? I'll use this and that to do it. Part of your question when you were talking about, if you're sick, say you have the flu, do you use positive affirmations? I am well, I feel wonderful. No, personally, I don't. In my opinion, my experience, those sort of affirmations come more from New Age than from paganism. I'm pretty sure that our ancient pagan ancestors didn't do anything that remotely resembles what you're talking about. Um, I really think that, yeah, it's good to have a positive attitude. It's probably better to say um, positive things than to run around whining and complaining all the time. But that being said, I also think it's much better to be honest. And if you are ill, if you have a headache, I think it's much more useful to say, I'm sorry, I don't feel very well. I have this really bad headache, so, kind of chill out around me. Or, I've got the flu. Don't come near. I don't want to cough on you and give it to you. Rather than deny reality. My religion, my version of paganism, I think is very grounded in the physical world, in what I would call reality, uh, rather than in some spiritual, supernatural world. You mentioned, supernatural. I don't consider what I do, whether it is practicing my religion, honoring the gods, or whether it is doing magic, I don't consider that supernatural, something outside nature. I consider it quite natural that my take on paganism is that the point is to come into harmony with nature rather than to try to somehow gain power over it or step outside it. Um, it's not a power over, it's power through. Aligning yourself with the forces of nature so that you can slightly bend, give things just a slight nudge in a direction that you want them to go. Crystals, yes, I do use crystals to a certain extent. My wife Feather does a lot more stonework and crystal work than I do. However, it's somewhat different than what I've experienced in some of the New Age fairs, and if I visit a shop that is more New Age than pagan. Um, I don't think there's a little creature that lives inside the crystal. Um, I don't, use them in every ritual. I may use them occasionally for something. As far as if I'm sick, usually I either use some over-the-counter remedy if it's minor. I mean, I'm trained in first aid, basic first aid, and that sort of thing. Sometimes herbal teas are helpful, but if I've got the flu, I'm not going to sit around drinking chamomile tea and chanting over a crystal. I'm going to go to the doctor. And I really think that our distant pagan ancestors did the same sort of thing. Now, their doctor didn't wear a white lab coat and have an office. The doctor was a wise woman or wise man, herbalist. Uh, but they used the best they had. They used the best that they knew how. I don't think that they just sat around and thought happy thoughts and channeled their crystals or whatever. That's not the sort of witchcraft that I practice. Um, I don't know. What else can I say? Your question, it was not real specific. It didn't lend itself to a definite, this is what I think about this answer. So if I've kind of missed the mark or you feel like I've sort of danced around your question, will please leave a comment, or I don't check um, the personal message inbox here that often, and I've almost not done anything with my personal YouTube channel in a little over 2 years, so that's not the best way to reach me. But if you'll leave a comment here, I do usually check back in at least once a week to see if anybody's watched my video and if they liked it or they thought it was just totally horrible. So, leave me a comment. I'd be glad to enter into a conversation or try to give you my thoughtful and studied and hopefully experienced response. So, till next time, this is Dancing Rabbit. Peace.